All right, so today we're going to be building and assembling the BitPak. This is from AvoidBit. It's the first free release. We have all of our different panels. Our insert, I'll go over all this in a moment. I know this seems very overwhelming. There's a lot going on here. I'm going to go through each part, explain what it is, and the tools that we're going to use to complete the task. So before we actually power this soldering iron on, we need to make a little bit of a modification. We need to remove this and insert the adapters from Ruthex into here. So we start by hold it right here and turn this left to loosen this top part. This will all slide apart. We'll just sit that down. This part leave alone. What we're interested in is replacing this part that was in the middle. So we're going to take this and we're going to sit it to the side. All right, so after we remove that, we're going to go ahead and open the Ruthex bag. And we're going to look for the one that's going to fit inside of the connectors that we're going to use, because there's various links available here. So first, we're going to start and just put the main adapter on. It slides right over that piece there. And then this part that we took off earlier, it slides over the entire thing, and then we'll tighten it back into place. So we're interested in the M3 brass inserts. So here on this package, let me just hold it up. You can see we have various sizes here and depths of these adapters. The ones we're interested in primarily are the M3 column. So I want to find that insert, make sure it fits on the adapter, and then connect it and plug it in. Heat up, but let's look here. So if we look at this, we can see it's set to 320. We're going to go down to 200. And if you hold this, we can go a little, it'll just go faster. You can kind of see it there. I'm going to go down to about 200. All right, so the first ones we're going to do are these smaller ones that are inside of the base. This one, and this one. So put it in that little circle, give it a little bit of push. Then you're going to take this and put it right in that hole. It's going to take a second to heat up. And you're going to slowly push it down just until it's in there like that. All right, so now we repeat that process for our other inserts. So now on our base piece, the back is flat. On our base piece, these are our inserts. This is the majority of the inserts we need. We need a few more, but this is the hardest part of the inserts. So now that we have that, we can put our power supply inside of here. Just kind of sit it down in there. You'll put the front in first. Make sure it goes on the left side of that lip, and then you'll push the back down. At this point, we're secure. Back to our M3s. And we want the tiniest ones that will fit. It should be these guys. All right, hot iron still on. All right, so going back to our handy dandy package of M3 screws. These are M3 brass inserts, and we don't have to go very far. So we're going to look at the M3 by 4 millimeters in this bottom right corner. We need 2 of those. All right, so we got our M3 right on there, and we're going to tighten it in down here. So this, you'll notice there's a hole there. It goes right on top of that insert we put earlier. And then we're going to secure that down. And if you look at it this way, it helps separate all of our high voltage with our low DC voltage over here. So that's great. It goes all the way to the top and all the way, extends all the way this way. So that should help mitigate any risk from that. So let's tighten this in. We need an M3 screw, and it's going to be pretty tiny. So let's get the smallest one we have again. And get out our hex wrench. And tighten that in. This we'll just take over here, and these panels, they just push right in. Next, we're going to go ahead and take care of the AC part of things. So this is going to go over here. This will slide in and it'll hold this piece right there. So let's go ahead and push that all the way down. And if you look right above, you see an L, an N, and looks like a satellite symbol or antenna. This is our load, this is our neutral, and this is our ground. Go through, let's crimp all these real quick and move on to the next step. So the first thing we're going to do to make sure we don't have any mistakes like I did earlier is we're going to put all of these through here so we have all the wires threaded through this panel. Using the fork connectors red 22-16 AWG. This fits over nicely over the two wires when we pair them together, and the crimp is nice and strong. The pull test, it doesn't come off. So we're actually going to go with these to do these two wires. Right. And if we remember before, looking here, we can see our negative and our V positive. So we're going to go ahead and connect our negatives first, and then we're going to do our V positives. Just need to insert this. So what would probably work best is if you give it a twist one time to help kind of wrap those wires around and conceal them and get them out of the way, but nice and organized. And then we slide this in. Look at that. Okay, so at this time, we're going to pull out our voltmeter. We're going to go ahead and connect this to power. All right, stop right here before you plug it in. Check the setting. Check to see if you're on 110 or 220 volts before you connect this to the power. Our case isn't fully complete yet, so this isn't going to have all the stability that it will when we're done. But if we go ahead and plug it in, kind of hold it here and push it in. All right, and then we see if we flip our power on, our power supply turns on. But now what we need to do is we need to check the voltage coming off of this. So we'll take our voltmeter. This is from Klein Tools, and we want to put it on COM for the black. And if you notice, the same thing here on our power supply, COM. And over here, we want to go to the right where we're measuring 600 volts max. And we're going to turn our voltmeter to the volt, which is DC current. This is analog, so this would be AC. DC current at 20 volts, because this right here, we're not going to exceed 20 volts. We're going to be in the 5 volt range, but we will exceed 2, so we want to be within 20. On one of these black connections here, now this all shares the same bus bar internally, so we can measure the voltage that way. And if we put our red over here, we're already on 5 volts evenly. Earlier it was on 5.1, but I adjusted it unknowingly. I landed right on 5 volts, but I'm going to show you how to change that. So right down in here, there's a little yellow screw. You can actually see it best if you're standing behind it. You can see it down there. To the right, you'll see that number go down. And if I twist it to the left, that number will go up. So we want it right at 5 volts. So we're going to twist it until we get there. Make sure your connections are nice and strong and firm so we're getting an accurate reading. You just barely have to make adjustments like that. Now remember, these are all connected, so you could put your COM on. Outer part is the ground or the negative, and then the inner part's going to be your positive. So let's do that and make sure we're still getting 5 volts. And you'll have to get a nice firm connection and stop moving around. So there's 5 volts, 5 volts, 5 volts, 5 volts. So now let's close this up. So this has built-in grooves for each of those panels. At this right on top, and we're going to push it down. You may have to push a corner here and there to kind of get it fitting on there the first time. Okay, and then we're going to tighten this in place with our screws. So going back to our M3 screws, we want one that's a little bit longer. Let's take a look here. I think these will be a good fit. So this is M3 by 20 millimeter. We'll use those. All right, so here we have a Bitaxe. And it's currently sitting in one of my custom designed cases. This was going to be released next month. This will be for sale on my website, on my shop. I can't reveal what this case actually does right now, but I will say this is just part of it. This is the part that holds the miner. This goes into or onto something much larger. So stay tuned for that. We're gonna plug in our miner. We're still at 120 volts. We have a barrel plug connector, both ends 90 degrees. We're going to plug one in here and the other one to our miner without revealing all the hidden mysteries and secrets of my case design. All right, and tilt that up so we can see it. And then we're going to power it on. And there you have it. Our Bitaxe powers up, connected to our variable power supply that's completely enclosed. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on X.